before this coronavirus hit, he had the economy booming, and red, yellow, black, and white Americans of all stripes were able to take advantage of American prosperity.
Despite President Trump's common sense approach, Joe Biden and Democrats aren't coming around to the same reality. They want to keep the schools closed.
So this is Joe Biden. This is a man who wants to be president, and he can't find the time in his little video to say he's proud of this country. We've never lived up to it, he says.
I don't think that if Joe Biden was president, we would see these types of gains. It is because of Donald Trump's policies and what he has done to help our country grow again.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor to be here with you and to hear these stories on why the fight for freedom can never be forgotten.
What is happening in our backyard today, I experienced as an 11-year-old at a guy named Castro.
Republicans are the party of freedom, Democrats are the party of socialism and worse.
We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. We will make America great again.
Welcome to Team Trump Online.
President Trump is the leader who will rebuild the promise of America and ensure that every citizen can realize their American dream.
What does it say really about Biden's lack of leadership? I mean, it's appalling. I believe in the rule and law. I lived my life by it and I fought for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, leaders and fighters of freedom and liberty and the American dream, the best is yet to come.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our new series, Making the Case. I'm Kimberly Guilfoyle, National Chair of Trump Victory Finance Committee. We have a fantastic show for you today. Tonight, we'll be discussing the importance of a law and order in the United States of America. We have seen lawlessness and chaos occur across the nation in Democrat-controlled cities. We have seen our memorials destroyed, businesses burned to the ground, and innocent children killed on the street. Sadly, this is America's future if Joe Biden and the Democrats win this November. But first, a word. The mainstream media wants the public to believe they are objective journalists. They want you to believe that they bring you the news. However, Americans aren't stupid. Anyone who spends 5 minutes watching a mainstream news channel or reading a mainstream newspaper will quickly realize that these media outlets only bring you news that fits within their narrative. What is their narrative, you might ask? Well, for the last 3.5 years, it has been to stop President Trump from making America great. The story changes, but the goal is always the same. Do you remember the 2 years of the Russian collusion hoax? Do you remember the sham around the impeachment? Today, the media focuses on COVID and tries to blame President Trump, a global pandemic that originated in China. President Trump put a travel ban and was criticized for it by Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi. The same people switched their tune and said President Trump wasn't doing enough just a few short weeks later. These people want to have it both ways, but we won't let them. Time and again, the media has gotten it wrong. You know what the media doesn't report. That just last month, in the midst of a global pandemic, the U.S. economy added 4.8 million jobs. That's right. In June, we added 4.8 million jobs. That is a record, and that is something you will not hear in the media. And let's switch to those peaceful protests which have burned and looted our cities across this country. For weeks, the media establishment kept telling you that the Republicans who are protesting the shutdowns are science deniers, selfish, unsafe people who are trying to kill your grandparents. However, you didn't hear one peep in the mainstream media when BLM protests started. Make no mistake, what happened to George Floyd was wrong, an injustice, and frankly, un-American. However, when protests transformed into looting and rioting, which turned into the burning of entire neighborhoods, the same mainstream media gave them a pass. If you don't want the police defunded, you only have one choice in November. If you want to recognize your country in 4 years, President Trump is your choice. Joe Biden isn't a moderate from Scranton. He's a swamp creature from the deep lagoons of the deep swamp, controlled by radical interests that fundamentally want to reshape the United States. My first guests know firsthand what happens when an angry crowd comes to your home. Mark and Patricia from the suburbs of St. Louis, Missouri, are joining us tonight. Thank you both for being here.
Thanks for having us.
And God bless you guys. And you have become household names across this country. And Mark, when the angry protesters came to the front of your house, what was going on through your mind?
I thought we were going to die. I mean, you got to have this in the context of St. Louis, where on June the 2nd, downtown was burned. I watched a 7-Eleven from the first brick go through the window, through the looting, through the burning of it, all the way through, with nobody showing up, no police, no fire department. Same night, a retired police captain gets murdered during secondary employment. These people are serious. And, you know, the so-called peaceful protest kind of ended when they smashed through the gate into my neighborhood and poured into my front yard. And we're talking 200-300, I think the estimates are as much as 500 people, all rushing at us, coming towards us. We're just out in the east patio trying to barbecue dinner. And I thought that within seconds we'd be overrun, that they'd be in the house, they'd be setting fire, they'd be killing us, and that was going to be the end of things.
It's so terrifying just to imagine what you both had to go through. And again, we're joined by Mark and Patricia McCloskeys. Patricia, I cannot even imagine, and I have to tell you how inspirational you are to so many women out there, to see how you were standing right by your husband's side, defending your home, defending your lives. You boldly stood there. And were you ever worried at some point that it could get, worse when you saw how things were developing?
Absolutely. And but for the guns, there was every expectation it was going to get worse. I called 911. The first thing I did was call 911. And the police came after, well after everything had ended. We have private security on our street. Maybe 10 minutes into it, I looked down and the private security was just parked in the middle with its flashing lights on, in the middle of a sea of protesters, couldn't do anything. So I knew we were on our own, and this was it. And we were terrified, frankly.
So, Mark, authorities have since visited your home. What is the latest development in the case?
Last Friday night, the local police came and issued a search warrant. They were the cops that showed up were very professional. They didn't want to have to do it. They were just doing their job. They were very apologetic. They rang the doorbell. They said, take as much time as you need. Talk to your lawyer if you want to. I brought down the AR-15 and handed it to him and told him it was unloaded, but I wanted to see him clear the rifle anyway so that nobody got hurt. Told him that the pistol was at our attorney's office. And then we wanted to document it. So Patty shot a picture, and before she did, she asked them if they would turn away so that they wouldn't get in trouble, if people wouldn't be mad at them for participating in it. And they all did. I mean, they were super guys. And quite frankly, once on the second event, when they came back to get us, we then had support from the White House on down. We had cooperation from the federal government, the state government, the local police. The police chief himself came out and met with my private security. And that's the way it was supposed to work. We had the protesters were loud. They were angry. They stayed outside the gate. Nobody got hurt. No car, no damage.
It's just unbelievable. Did you ever think in this country that you would face a situation like that? And you have every right to defend yourself. That is your constitutional right to be able to defend yourselves from harm, from potentially death, from them trying to burn down your house. And it's incredible. Like, if you hadn't stepped in, you can only imagine, what would have happened, because apparently people are allowed to just burn down other people's homes or shoot people or kill people. It's out of control. And the local newspaper, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, has come after you. And what has the local media coverage sort of been like for the two of you going through this whole firestorm?
Well, the Post-Dispatch has called us despicable people. They went back through my entire life. They even published a picture of a birthday card my dad sent me on my 20th birthday in 1976. All kinds of outrageous, intentional misrepresentations made by neighbors and other people. I mean, yeah, the typical tactic is to smear you, to especially embarrass you, and to try to get you to go on an apology campaign. But we have nothing to apologize for. We did nothing wrong, and we're not going to back down.
Yeah, and I can't even imagine, the media, as you mentioned, they've reported that your weapons have since been confiscated. How soon do you think you'll be able to get those back? And obviously, how do you feel now about your ability to be able to protect yourselves in your home?
Well, right now we're kind of defenseless, and so we're depending upon retained private security. But we live in the city of St. Louis. Our office is 3 blocks away further into the city than this. And the background level of violence in St. Louis is so much that, well, I was on Fox with former Governor Greitens on Monday night. When he left the show, there was a double murder in front of him on Linda. I mean, it's a real war zone out here.
It's outrageous. And what is your message, both of you, to those who want to defund the police?
Well, if you defund the police, there's nothing standing between you and the mob other than yourself. We have gotten a tremendous outpouring of support from around the country and around the world. And everybody's saying, I never owned a gun before, but we've got to do it now.
Mm-hmm. And Patricia, how do you feel, about women and having their ability to protect themselves and bear arms? What's your message to women out there?
Well, you don't think it's going to happen to you, and I certainly didn't think it's going to happen to me. But I think it's time that we not just stand behind the man that is going to have the guns, and we need to learn a little ourselves and buck up and learn and bear arms ourselves. And I didn't think it would happen. I didn't think it would need to come to that, but unfortunately, it has.
And Patricia, you would do it all again, would you not?
I had no choice. I have to. Yes.
Absolutely. I want to thank you both, Mark and Patricia McCloskeys, for being here on the program. We're going to be following your case and know that you have the support of great patriots that love liberty and freedom and protect the Constitution. And God bless you guys. I'm so happy that you're both here and able to be on the show because you were able to be courageous to protect yourselves and defend your lives. So God bless you both and stay safe.
Thank you very much.
All right, perfect. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break. Stay tuned for more of Making the Case.
During the coronavirus pandemic, Joe Biden criticized President Trump's China travel ban.
Hysterical xenophobia.
He was dead wrong. For 40 years, Biden's been wrong on China, supporting trade deals that destroy American jobs, giving China most favored nation status, letting China walk all over us.
The beautiful history we wrote together.
But Biden has never been more wrong than now. Joe Biden in the White House would be a deadly mistake.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
We know you want to give Donald Trump 4 more years to fight for you in Washington, but he isn't just up against Joe Biden. He's up against the Democrat fundraising machine, and he needs all the help he can get. Don't just assume because his opponent hasn't completed a single sentence that this campaign is over. Crazy things happen, like this woman becoming Speaker of the House. Support the president today by texting Trump to 88022. Donald Trump is counting on every single one of his supporters to text Trump to 88022 now.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
Welcome back to the debut episode of Making the Case. I'm Kimberly Guilfoyle, and now we are joined by my great friend, Utah Attorney General Sean Reyes. Sean, it's great to have you on the program. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Kimberly. It's an honor to be on with you.
Now, being the Attorney General of Utah, you are deeply involved in law and order issues on a daily basis. You understand the importance of the nation's law enforcement and the absurdity of this defund the police movement. How have you handled this particular defund the police movement in your state, and what do you see the impact being?
Kimberly, after 2014, in the wake of Ferguson and Eric Garner's death, I sat down with the NAACP and the National Urban League, and we talked and had real conversations about improvement in law enforcement. Is there still discrimination by some? Yes. And I think President Trump did an amazing job calling that out immediately, showing great leadership. He signed an executive order to help do things like incentivize more violence de-escalation training. That's what we've been doing in Utah since 2014. We started an incredible program using a virtual reality simulator that we put federal, county, city, state law enforcement through to really force them to confront these very, very difficult situations, but they can make mistakes in the simulator and we can run it back and we can get them practice over and over again, how to control their voice, their posture, how to de-escalate violence in different situations. In some situations, Kimberly, use of force is inevitable. Someone shooting at you, someone shooting at somebody else. But in many cases, we can work on violence de-escalation those are some of the things that we've been doing that have been wildly successful in Utah. Chiefs of police from around the world highlighted our program last year, and it's something, again, that I know President Trump supports, and it's why, for me, I've been so appreciative of his leadership, in contrast to Joe Biden and others who are calling for this very myopic defund the police movement, which will only make all communities less safe, including communities of color.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such an incredibly important point. As a former prosecutor, I've, experienced those simulators, and they're very important to give sort of hands-on training to law enforcement for situations, whether it's a school shooting or, something like that, where they have to really make these snap-second, judgments about how they handle. You can't even, in any way try to prepare somebody from that, except if you have these type of resources available. And that ultimately can save lives, because they need to be able to go through those actual real life simulations so that they can make the decisions, in the split of a second that can really save not only their life, but the lives of other innocent bystanders as well. It's so important to have the police every single day in communities and making sure that people are safe. You see the contrast when you look at Chaz or whatever they are, CHOP, whatever they call it these days, in Seattle. And even Joe Biden has suggested that we redirect funding away from our law enforcement. What would a Joe Biden presidency mean for this nation's hardworking police officers? And would you see then crime, increasing?
Absolutely. Increase in crime, less confidence from law enforcement. Joe Biden, as I mentioned, just a few weeks ago suggested that we should not defund the police. And then within a matter of just a couple of weeks, caves to the lawless elements of his party, the activists who want no law enforcement whatsoever, and then recently said police are the enemy to America and that we should defund the police. President Trump, in stark contrast, again, has stood by the 99.9% of the brave, valiant law enforcement men and women. Now, again, I want to be clear. President Trump, just like you mentioned, at the outset decried, condemned the actions that led to the death of George Floyd. Yeah. But he still stood with law enforcement, and he provided solutions through his executive order. Here you have Joe Biden, the presumptive nominee for the Democratic Party, who shows no leadership whatsoever, flip-flops, changes, is influenced by the squad. And what that means for America, should he be elected president, is less safe communities. Let me give you an example, Kimberly. You know this because we've talked about it. I go from time to time as a volunteer on undercover operations with different NGOs to third world countries to liberate children from child sex trafficking. And by the way, President Trump has been an amazing advocate to end modern day slavery, and I want to give him credit for that. But the point I'm trying to make is when I'm there with officials, law enforcement officials, prosecutors like you, where they say, Sean, we have the same laws that the United States have. The problem is we don't have people willing to put their lives on the line, that thin blue line that protects us from civilization and anarchy. That's the difference between what we're experiencing in America, the great blessings that we have and opportunities living the American dream, and many of those folks struggling in third world countries, is that thin blue line. And defunding the police is the wrong message. President Trump has said it. Even Bernie Sanders has agreed with the president. If you want the most qualified professionals, if you want to be able to recruit them, retain them, promote them, and train them, you have to spend more funds. That doesn't mean you can't also spend funds on neighborhood watch, drug courts, and other things that work well in complement with law enforcement, but not in place of law enforcement, Kimberly.
Absolutely. And the cancel culture is here in full force. I mean, my God, you can't even make this stuff up. Goya Foods, delicious, by the way, which I cook with every single night, literally, okay? Because people said to me, whoa, I see all the Goya. Who sent you the gift packet? I'm like, wait, did I get a gift package? I mean, but I didn't. It's what I had in my own pantry. I was kind of bummed because I thought someone would send me a gift package of that stuff. But anyway, who knew? Now Goya's a target. The CEO, Bob, he praised President Trump, saying that this president reminds him of his grandfather because both of them are successful. The left went crazy trying to cancel this company, cancel him and anyone associated with Goya. What is happening in America? And you and I are both proud Latinos, so we stand with Goya.
Oh, absolutely. And I say this tongue in cheek, of course. How dare he, acknowledge a president who's done so much for the Hispanic community? And how dare he speak his mind? This cancel culture is unbelievable. By the way, I had a hint you might be asking me about Goya, so I brought what's in my pantry. Right here, you know, sazon Goya. You're right. It's part of our daily.
I used that last night.
Yeah, sure. Well, again, it's just emblematic of what we're up against on the other side. Any disagreement, and they want to not just marginalize you, but erase you. And your family and your culture and everything else, whether that's rioting, looting, ripping down statues. And again, we defend their right to protest peacefully, to disagree, have their own views of things. But this cancel culture is just unbelievably taken on a life of its own.
Yeah, it's out of control. And in their crusade to rewrite history, these leftists, helped by their allies in the Democrat Party, are ripping down our nation's memorials. We've seen them tear down statues from Christopher Columbus to Frederick Douglass. Is this the most important election of our lifetime if we want to actually recognize our nation in the future and protect our American history?
Yes, if we want to keep America as we know it, strong and proud, this is the most important election of our lifetime. And that's why Donald Trump is the only answer for us. And I say that, again, as a proud Latino, as an Asian Pacific American. My family, immigrant family, came because of what America represents. And President Trump absolutely is our best hope to continue to shine that light across the world and be a beacon for hope. Kimberly, that's absolutely the message.
Well, God bless, and fantastic. And thank you so much for joining us this evening. The great Attorney General of the state of Utah, Sean Reyes, was endorsed loudly and proudly by President Trump. You've done a phenomenal job. God bless you for what you do, and it was an absolute pleasure having you on this show. And
I'll cook for you next time.
Okay, I love it. You got it. That's a deal. All right, stay with us. We'll be right back with more Making the Case.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
My administration will take all necessary steps to safeguard our citizens from this threat.
Hysterical xenophobia.
Be giving Americans a false sense.
Is it accurate that if these steps had not been put in place, it could have been 2 million people dead here in the United States?
Yes.
No matter how hard they try to stop us, they can't.
We built the greatest economy the world has ever seen, and we're going to do it again. Together, we're beating back the invisible enemy.
What the federal government did was a phenomenal accomplishment.
Through it all, the world has witnessed the unyielding resolve of our incredible American people.
Promise made, promise kept.
And I'm fighting for you, and I love doing it with everything that I have. And you know that. With the grace of God, we will win this war, and we will win this war quickly. And we will make America great again.
Welcome back to Making the Case. I'm Kimberly Guilfoyle. We are now joined by Florida's greatest Congressman, Matthew Gaetz. Congressman Gaetz, thank you so much for being on the program.
Oh, thanks for having me. Now, it's called Making the Case, but I think I read a great book with the same title. Am I remembering something correctly there, Kimberly?
That's correct. That's my book, Making the Case. And that's what we're doing here. We're making the case for this country, for the president, for this election. We're doing it with the help of a great congressman from the state of Florida. So now President Trump has put the American people first throughout this pandemic, and he has accomplished a lot to save lives and to protect jobs. Now, unfortunately, the fake news goes out of its way to ignore a very successful record. Congressman, why does the media continue to provide President Trump with unfair coverage, especially during the middle of a pandemic like this?
Well, there's a reason, Kimberly, why the president is referred to the media as the enemy of the people, because they seek to divide us and distract us and to pit one element of Americans against another element of Americans. What's so great about the Trump presidency is that he has one unified vision of success, for all groups of Americans, where we can come together and rise and be unapologetically patriotic and, might I say, unapologetically richer. You know, Donald Trump built the greatest economy that our country has ever seen, and he's quite literally in the process of doing it again, exploding the job expectations. People are actually onboarding again and getting back to work. And for us to continue that, I think we need a sense of optimism. We don't get that from Joe Biden at all. And frankly, we don't get that from the media. I thought it was particularly interesting that Barry Weiss had to resign as the opinion editor at the New York Times, because at the New York Times, they don't really have a goal of seeking the truth and providing it to the people. They want to be able to create their own truth in their bastion of liberal thought, and then to try to convince Americans that really what we believe about love of country and love of our neighbors, love of our constitutional rights should all just be surrendered so that we can join the woke-topia. And I'm not here for it, Kimberly, and I doubt you are either.
Yeah, oh my God, the woke-topia. Let's cancel that. All right, so do you think the media is actually rooting for President Trump to fail? Because that's what it feels like, that's what it seems like, that's how it reads, even if it means our economy would implode.
I think for a lot of folks in the media, there is a real cultural bias against American values. And it's sad to have to admit that. And because President Trump has done so much to reinvigorate patriotism, to say that America won't be dead money in global deals anymore, will require more of our allies, will inspire fear in our enemies when they misbehave, as Soleimani did before he was wiped off the battlefield. But see, the media, I think, wants to drum our country down, and they oppose what I think is the real invigorating part of the Trump movement. And that's why Trump TV is so important. I know we all miss the rallies and the opportunity to really cut through the media and allow the president to speak directly to the American people with so much energy and enthusiasm and love. You know, these are positive experiences that we've got to get back to. And I think once we get back out on the campaign trail, once we really, I think, capture this enthusiasm that we're building online, that you're building through the greatest fundraising that any presidential campaign has ever seen, when we bring that back to the rallies, back to the American people, I think you're going to see a real surge in energy for the Trump movement.
Oh, big time. And speaking of unfair coverage, the media has given Joe Biden a total pass, complete pass, like get out of jail free card. He refuses to campaign, and for the most part, he still sits locked up in his basement. How exactly do we hold Joe Biden accountable when he won't even leave his own house or even take questions from reporters? He just wants to be handed the presidency on a pillow.
Well, I mean, we all know what's really going on with Joe Biden. He does not have the capability to be president. And maybe under peaceful times, under prosperous and normal times, you could sort of have somebody that was asleep at the wheel in that job. But look at what is going on in America. We have to fight and wrestle with and defeat this coronavirus. We have to get American businesses back working again. We've got to rebuild that amazing consumer confidence that drove the greatest economic growth that our nation has ever seen. Joe Biden can't do that. He can't even push back against the most elements of the Democratic Party that want to defund the police, that want to abolish borders. They want to have MS-13 living next door to you while they disarm law-abiding Americans, and the police won't come when you call. And so I think that when you compare Joe Biden's America to Donald Trump's America, it's an easy choice. And there's probably a reason why the media doesn't want to tell you the truth about Joe Biden's limited capabilities.
Yeah, absolutely. You hit it on the head there, because it's like Biden's like, yes, open borders and close the schools. I mean, he's got it all wrong. He's been wrong for 50 years, so we can expect more of the same from this guy. Congressman, do you believe that fake news is actually culpable for citing for months that hydroxychloroquine is ineffective, that it's harmful, when in fact a recent Henry Ford study showed that hospitalized patients found that those that were given the hydroxychloroquine were much less likely to die? I mean, how many lives would have been saved if the media's hatred didn't cloud their reporting of facts, and people that couldn't even, get it? I took it myself, and here I am.
Looking great, by the way, and we're glad you're doing well. I know there are a lot of prayers for you, Kimberly, and for your whole family and your team. But of course, we want to root for hydroxychloroquine. We want to root for remdesivir. There is a new vaccine candidate that Moderna Inc. has worked with the Trump administration and the National Institute of Health to develop that's going to be given to 30,000 Americans to see its potential to block this virus. So you've got the Trump administration working for that next innovation, that next opportunity to save lives. And then just as you said, at the very same time, you have the lying, fake news, America Last media quite literally sharing misinformation with people in a way that I think puts blood on their hands. And I don't say that for political advantage. I say it because I hope they'll change their behavior and actually, start joining in our effort to get the right information out to the public so that these new medical advancements can help people.
Absolutely. And Congressman, this is something really important. We're both parents. Parents want to send their kids back to school this fall. Why exactly are Democrats resisting sending children back to school? Every child, I believe, has the right, to an education, to be able to educate themselves. I think it's essential, like food and water. They need to be properly socialized. Some of these children won't even get a nutritious meal unless they get it in school during the school day. Tell us your thoughts about that and try to shed some light on why the Democrats would do this. It's only hurting children.
Well, remember, Kimberly, President Trump has supported parental empowerment since well before coronavirus. He's really helped the school choice movement. Yes. He's helped the homeschool movement. And so what we believe as Republicans is that we want the most empowered parent as possible. And of course, you have to give parents the option for public school in-person instruction, if they so choose that. Now, we're seeing studies out of Germany, just reported by the Telegraph, that young people are far less likely to spread this virus. And even when they do contract it, they're less likely to be symptomatic. They have lower intubation rates, far lower, almost no real measurable death rate for these young people. And so I think that the cost in terms of learning losses would really be severe for young people if we keep them locked up and away from pedagogy and instruction. You ask why the media and the left would oppose this, and frankly, you have to wonder whether they really want America to get back to normal. You see, the Republicans are the ones fighting to open your business, to help your student back to school, to create a safe and sanitary and trusting environment to engage in commerce and learning again. And the Democrats are the ones that want to make your job illegal, and they want to lock you in your house with children that then don't have the capacity to then go and seize the opportunities of the great Trump economy. So I think if you want to be an optimist, if you want America to succeed, we welcome you to our movement in the Trump campaign.
Absolutely. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Congressman Matt Gaetz. We certainly appreciate you taking the time to join us tonight. And God bless you serving your country. I tell you, fighting in that swamp every single day. All right. And stay tuned for our next guest, who will be joining me right here in studio, the one and only Donald Trump Jr. What could possibly go wrong? We'll be right back. Stay with us.
The radical left-wing mob's agenda? Take over our cities, defund the police, pressure more towns to follow, and Joe Biden stands with them. Cutting police funding.
Yes, absolutely.
Eliminating cash bail, letting criminals back on the street, violent crime exploding, innocent children fatally shot. Who will be there to answer the call when your children aren't safe?
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Hey, Laura Trump here. The fake news media has spent years trying to stop President Trump with their lies and their witch hunts. But still, our movement is stronger than ever. We can't let the fake news media drown out our positive message about all of our incredible accomplishments. Make sure you're getting your news directly from the source by subscribing to the official Donald J. Trump podcast today. Subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or Google Play.
Welcome back to Making the Case with Kimberly Guilfoyle. I'm joined by Donald Trump Jr. for a very fun segment. You might also like to know him as the general of the meme war, self-proclaimed on his Instagram, right, Tom?
Yes.
That's his favorite title. He thinks it's his most important job, so we let him do that. Meme land is his playground. So this segment,
guys, this has been my life for 3+ months of quarantine. Okay, I cannot escape Kimberly. I'm trapped with her in quarantine.
Yes.
She gets to abuse me on a daily basis.
And feed you.
You do feed me. That's true.
Yes.
And then I can't get away from doing the show.
It's okay.
Or you get to abuse me even further.
And he is also the king of pie, because he never met a piece of pie that he didn't want to put in his belly. That's also a fact, not fake news, folks.
It's not fake news.
All right, 2 pieces of pie for you if you do a good job, Don. We'll decide after this segment. I like to call this segment Hot Takes. So, Don, let's take a look at some of the memes out there this week. We will get you to rate them. It's like dancing with the memes, okay? So our first one comes from Students for Trump, and it's President Obama, as you can see, looking at Joe Biden and saying, "I'm endorsing you, Joe." And Biden responds, "For what?"
Well, when I first saw that meme, I actually didn't realize it was a meme. I thought it was probably a fact.
Yes.
When you look at Joe Biden for the last few months, despite the media spending billions to try to cover up for his, at this point, honestly, it's literally incompetence.
Right.
It would be sad if it wasn't so scary.
Exactly.
Right? It would be sad because this guy could potentially be the leader of the free world. The guy that 10 years ago, Osama bin Laden, literally wanted to be the president because that would, and I quote loosely, lead to the destruction of America. So that's kind of problematic. So when I saw this, I said, you know what, Joe can't remember where he is. He can't remember what office he's running for. He's confusing his wife and his sister, which would get me in a lot of trouble. That's okay for him. So, the fact that he doesn't remember what office he's running for, he's actually forgotten it. So I thought it was actually real and not a meme.
You're absolutely right. All right. Well, fantastic. So, yeah, it would be funny if it just wasn't true. Exactly. So our next meme is President Trump standing behind Goya products with a large caption, "Boycott Goya." Let's put it up here on the screen and get your response, Don.
Let's see.
There you go. These are the crazy leftists wanting to boycott Goya, which, by the way, you wouldn't have any meals because I cook with it every night.
Correct. It's having a Puerto Rican girlfriend in a time of a Goya boycott is definitely going to give me a lot of Goya product on the dinner table. So thank you, Kimberly. And
you're welcome.
More importantly, honestly, it's more, think about this, like one of the largest Hispanic-owned businesses, family business in America. This is the American dream. This is what's supposed to be, woke. And the second they say, well, Donald Trump's policies have been good for business. They've allowed us to grow. They've allowed us to employ people.
Right.
You would think that would be good, but the left takes any sort of compliment to Donald Trump as bad. And now you would think that a business as big as Goya would recognize a good businessman as opposed to an incompetent 48-year
failure,
which is Joe Biden. 48 years in the Washington, D.C. swamp. Well, what's he done to boost business?
Right.
Nothing. He sent all our jobs abroad to China. He helped get China in the World Trade Organization. He pushed them away. So, it's sort of amazing to watch the left do this. And then you see sort of the response from the right on this one has been great, which is, going out and buying it. You see the
selling out.
Literally Goya's, off the shelves in all of these stores because people are buying it. And it's an important message because, these guys had the gut. They could have taken the easy way out, not shown up. They could have, reiterated the woke talking points, but instead they stood by their convictions.
Absolutely.
And, that's something we don't see very often today in America, people that have the guts to stand up and to do what is right.
And to say Donald Trump's a great businessman, somebody should be running the country. So now they want to cancel the CEO, cancel a Latino company, Latino products, all the above. It absolutely makes no sense. It's crazy.
It doesn't, but so much of the entire left, now with the Biden-Sanders plan, the push to communism that they launched this week, it's truly scary for the America that we know and love.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. All right. So our next image, Don, is not really a meme, so don't have a panic attack. Okay. But it's sad that the media once again lies repeatedly. Okay. So we see how many commutations have been issued by every president on this screen. Clinton, 61, Bush, 11, Obama, 1,715, and President Trump, just 11. So why did the media lose it when President Trump commuted Roger Stone's sentence when the whole Russian investigation turned out to be fraudulent and there was no collusion, in fact.
Well, because that's what the media does, right? They can't help themselves, and the left, right? They don't talk about Obama literally releasing terrorists,
right?
Terrorists that like killed police officers,
Absolutely.
and let's commute their sentence, no problem. Over 1,700 of them. It's such nonsense. Trump pardons or commutes really Roger Stone's sentence because he did something wrong. Right? There's a difference between the two, but he says, hey, this guy doesn't deserve to spend 9 years in jail because he got involved in a fake hoax. I mean, they're trying to throw him in jail for 9 years because he was part of something that never was.
Right, it's
I mean, it's literally asinine. But watching the outrage, and Trump's abusing his power. It's like, I don't know, 1,715 that Obama commuted, including terrorists, including murderers.
That's okay.
I don't know.
Right.
That seems like a bigger deal to me, but you guys would never hear that from our friends in the fake news.
Yes, and Roger Stone's trial was rigged from the beginning, where he had a political activist, a Democrat activist, as the foreperson who lied about her background and her political leanings and all of the above. But anyway, so we have our last.
That doesn't matter, Kim.
No,
Is it
doesn't
bad
matter.
for Trump? We can
bad for
disregard
Trump? It's good.
The rule of law. It's what they did for the last 4 years. What's going to stop them now?
Exactly.
Other than a win in November.
Yes, November 3rd. We're going to get it. All right. Our last meme, Don, is Joe Biden with the caption, most non-essential employee for 48 years. This is one of my favorites.
Well, honestly, this one is so accurate. I mean, Joe Biden has literally run on a platform of big government have failed you. Like, you're right, Joe, but like, maybe you're part of the problem. Everyone's trying to say, oh, Joe Biden, he's an outsider. He's Obama's VP. Joe Biden has been in the swamp for 50 years. Right. He got his first job in D.C. in Congress in his 20s. He's never worked in the private sector. He ain't blue collar Joe like they're trying to sell you. And if you look at the plans he's put out, he's no moderate anymore. Everyone knows he doesn't know where he is. He can't remember the wife's name. He can't remember the office he's running for. He can't get through a speech to 20 people without a teleprompter. And even on the teleprompter, it's kind of a disaster.
Right.
Like, this guy's not there. This guy is owned by the far left. And more importantly, he's owned by China. Okay? Joe Biden's policies created China's status in the World Trade Organization. He's done nothing but spend the last half a century shipping our American dream to China. Our manufacturing jobs, our supply chains, all gone because of Joe Biden's stupid policies. And honestly, if there's one thing we have to learn in the post-COVID-19 world, it's that China's not a good player. They're not trying to help the world. China's trying to help themselves.
Exactly.
Okay? I don't blame them for that. But Joe Biden created the juggernaut that is China today. He's not going to push back on it. His son took $1.5 billion from the Chinese government.
Imagine if you did that.
Imagine I took $1.
You'd be in jail.
It'd be a disaster. I mean, the fact that, and for those of you who don't know, like in a fund, $1.5 billion investment, there's a fee structure on that. The typical would be a 2% management fee and 20% of the profits. Let's assume there's no profits. A 2% management fee on $1.5 billion is $30 million a year. A year. This is an annual fee. That would be a typical fund structure. So you think that Joe Biden's going to be tough on China when his family's making $30 million a year in fees? I don't think so. He hasn't been tough on them in 50 years. Why is he going to start now? Give me a break. Exactly. But the media will spend $1 billion plus in free cover-up, trying to make Joe Biden look like he's not an incompetent, trying to make him look intelligent, trying to make him seem like a moderate, even though the plan he put out is
radical.
The Bernie, it's literally, it's the farthest left.
He plagiarized Bernie Sanders.
Yeah. He's calling the police enemies. There's defund the police. There's free housing for criminals.
Open the borders.
Free health care for illegals. Guess
Close
what, guys?
the schools.
You all have the distinct honor of being able to pay for that for someone else, but you don't even get it for free.
It's out of control.
This is, the Biden-Bernie communist wish list plan that he just came out with this week. There's never been a more important time to get involved, to see what's actually going on, to actually figure out the facts and not be blinded by the nonsense that's being sold to you by a mainstream media that is no longer journalism. It's no longer reporting. It's pure leftist activism. Wake up. Look what's going on. And I promise you, you will be on our camp in November.
Absolutely. See how he is, this guy, the Journal of the Meme War. He's the best. He triggers the left and he calls out the liberal privilege. All right, Don Jr.?
Thank you, Princess. That was a good plug for the book I got coming out because, you know.
This is what happens when you give Trump the mic.
I had to hide in the basement from Kimberly for about 4 months because she was making me do way too much. It was driving me crazy. I couldn't escape. So I said, you know what, if we're going to be in quarantine for 4 months, and since the media has abdicated their role actually reporting on presidential candidates other than Donald Trump.
Right. Well, we had a lot of fun doing it, though.
We got to, we should take the time, get our researchers, start looking into it. And I think when you guys see what I've been able to figure out about Joe Biden, about the Democrats, about their liberal privilege, because we get to hear a lot about the privilege that we all have, and there may be some truth to some of it. The one thing they won't talk about is liberal privilege, which is you can flip-flop, you can say whatever it is we want,
Absolutely.
You can have whatever racist hot take you want, and as long as you're a leftist, you're given a total pass. Us conservatives, we don't get that same benefit of the doubt. So
you're right about that.
I figured I'd go long form on this one. So it's basically one of my Twitter rants over a couple hundred pages.
Yes, exactly. And a lot of behind the scenes stuff, cool stuff about when we did The View together. So you're gonna absolutely love it. I feel like we gave birth to this book. It was a baby. It's good. It's good stuff.
Really, baby?
Yes, baby.
That's pretty graphic. I mean,
all right.
That is something I may not unsee, folks.
Exactly. All right.
Thank you for your help with it, Princess.
Yes,
big news. Big news.
Yes.
Kimberly.
Yes.
Kimberly is going to be doing the audiobook.
I'm reading it.
Because it's interesting.
So you would love it, yeah.
The left has said for many years that I can't read, and I've proven that I can actually read. But they say that I can't. But when we were going through the book, we would take turns, sort of Kimberly, Sergio, my team, just looking at it, reading it out loud, making sure we're making the points that we want to make, before going to final draft. And literally, Kimberly could read an entire chapter, not one miss, not one, oh wait, not one it was perfect. It was perfect. So I'm saying this is something that we got to do. We're going to be so busy, but I got to carve out a day or two of her time. Let her read the book for the audio book because it was truly a stellar performance and very impressive, baby. Okay,
You're the best.
Yeah.
All right.
And she comes at the right price, also, folks. So
free.
It's for free.
Hey,
it's for
Trump's
me, right?
like a good deal. Let me tell you something.
The art of the deal, baby.
All right, fantastic. Good job, baby.
Thank you, baby.
You're the best. All right, and thank you for joining us on Hot Takes. And I think you'll be backed on by popular demand. You can follow Donald Trump Jr. on Twitter by following at Donald J. Trump Jr. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Wait, don't go. You can follow me on Twitter, but I've been locked out of my account for about 16 hours. So I'm not sure if they're getting me back or whatever it may be. But, hopefully I will be back on Twitter.
We're working on that.
With that. We're working on it, but there's something very shady going on. So thank you, guys.
Yeah, a little bit of a crisis. We'll handle it. That's for sure. All right. Stay tuned for more of Making the Case.
Joe Biden's failed old liberal ideas would crush our economy just as it's recovering. Higher taxes on families, crippling regulations, trade deals that ship jobs to China. President Trump led us to the strongest economy in history. He did it his way, not the Washington way. And he's doing it again, renewing, restoring, rebuilding. 2.5 million new jobs, the biggest jobs increase ever. And he's just getting started.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
As we have already seen, his America First agenda has lifted all Americans up and have empowered them with true economic emancipation that has once again made the American dream possible. That's why I want you to text EMPOWER to 88022 right now if you want to keep America great and deliver 4 more years for President Donald J. Trump. Welcome back. I'm your host, Kimberly Guilfoyle of Making the Case. America is at a pivotal time, and we have a clear choice. We can fix our economy, protect our homeland, or we can drastically change the course of history by electing the most radical leftist agenda. Make no mistake, this is it. Do you want your children to recognize America when they grow up? The left has shown their true colors. They are true believers. They despise capitalism. They want to destroy our towns. They want to burn our monuments. We can't allow that to happen. And that is the bottom line. Thank you all for joining me tonight. You can follow me on Twitter at Kim Guilfoyle or on Instagram at Kimberly Guilfoyle. We have just over 100 days left of this campaign, and the president needs you with him every day, making the case for him for November 3rd. God bless you all, and I will see you next week only on Making the Case.